Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode here at the Damage Report Under Lockdown. Welcome back to the show. Everyone who's already in the chat saying, "Where's John?" I don't want to run the intro when like 3 people are on the stream. Just hold for 1 sec. But now there's a bunch of people here. You're all here. I'm here. You know who else is here for the first time under lockdown on the Damage Report? Anna Kasparian, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going well.
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah, I'm
so
happy that I'm
excited
able
to have
to
you.
finally do this. Yeah. You asked me to do this like the first week that we were on lockdown, but I just couldn't get that sweet video quality that you have. But now
Oh
I
my
think I got
God.
it on lock. Yeah.
I think it looks pretty great. I think you nailed it, honestly. Like,
After a while.
you have this nice sort of tone to it. It's very like creamy smooth. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thank you.
I think you might have me beat. Maybe we'll poll the audience once some more people are in here. But anyway, I'm glad that you're here because we have a lot of important stories to talk about, a lot of fun stories to talk about, and for everyone who is in the chat and thought that they heard me stroking my beard while I was waiting to start the show. That's not what was happening. Not entirely, anyway. So we're going to be reading some of your super chats and comments throughout, so feel free to get involved. If you haven't already hit the like button, that would be a great way to start off this whole experience we're embarking on. Let more people know about the stream and all of that. And with that, I think that we can probably get into the first story. I mean, we're going to be talking about the lockdown protests. We're going to be talking about AOC's challenger, Fox News misinformation, Steve Mnuchin, what's money? He doesn't really know. And so it should be a lot of fun. So why don't we launch into it, Anna?
Let's do it.
Okay. In multiple states across the country, right-wingers, not entirely, but almost entirely right-wingers, are now protesting against quarantine measures that have been put into effect by mayors, governors, and all of that. They're not happy about it, and we are finding out more about these protests as time goes on. For instance, so this is one of the Michigan groups, the Michigan Freedom Fund, according to Progress Michigan, is apparently a Betsy DeVos-backed corporate front group. So Betsy DeVos, of course, in the Trump administration, has been providing funding to these. And what you find basically, I'm not going to run through the entire thing, but a lot of the organizations, the very wealthy organizations that are funding these groups, regardless of what state they're in, are the same sorts of organizations that were funding the Tea Party back not that many years ago. And so, and probably I'm going to assume not for the same obvious reasons, but the same implicit reasons. To create chaos, to benefit the economy from their perspective. And again, if people have to die, Anna Kasparian, it's not going to be them. Betsy DeVos isn't going to be exposed to coronavirus.
It's really incredible to see what's happening. And I think that there are two things that we need to consider when trying to understand what's at play. So on one hand, there's an issue with misinformation campaigns. I know from personal experience, people in my personal life have asked me all sorts of questions about conspiracy theories that they've read on social media. And so you unfortunately have to not only debunk those conspiracy theories, but urge people to take these social distancing measures seriously. There are bad actors at play, of course, both when it comes to misinformation and when it comes to funding these types of protests. But I think that it would be a mistake to avoid addressing a very real concern that people have. Look, we forget that Congress has really failed in offering a real financial solution for people who have been laid off. So some of these people are clowns and they don't know what they're doing and they're just listening to what Fox News tells them to do. On the other hand, though, I think there are people who aren't able to pay their bills. They've been unable to file for unemployment because the unemployment system in every state is overwhelmed and overburdened. They're not even able to get through and apply. And then the $1,200 stimulus check is honestly nothing when you consider how much people need to pay in their debts, in their bills, to provide for their families, to put food on the table. So I think there are so many different factors at play, but we need to be hyper-focused on the failures of Congress, because if people felt comfortable staying home and not working, if they knew that they were taken care of, I think that this would be less of an issue. But when people are feeling that economic frustration, coupled with the misinformation they might be seeing in conservative media, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I agree. And a little bit later on, we're going to be talking about Steve Mnuchin, how much $1,200 can actually buy you, and give some suggestions for what the next step should be when it looks like there aren't going to be any next steps, that Congress is pretty much done. As far as I've seen, though, most of these groups so far, I don't see them rallying for Congress to, for instance, make the version of UBI that we have right now persistent, for the next year or whatever, or to extend sick leave to all Americans, or institute single payer so that people's health care won't be tied with their continued employment. These sorts of policy-based solutions for the problems that we face that we might suggest, they seem a little bit less interested in that and a little bit more interested in sticking it to Democratic governors and proving that they're tough. One of the reasons that they're probably holding guns, which we're going to get to. But I want to read a couple of quotes from some of those involved, because I've been sort of speaking for them. Let me let them speak for themselves. So let's start with Ashley Smith, co-founder of Reopen NC for North Carolina. That is a group that she started after seeing an online rumor that the lockdown order was going to be extended until June. It wasn't true, and in fact, North Carolina's lockdown order is going to end in 3 days unless it's extended, but the group remains, even though it's based on nonsense. And so here's what she had to say. When it's my time to go, God's going to call me home. I think that to live is inherently to take risks. I'm not concerned about this virus any more than I am about the flu. So a couple months of increased education about, what coronavirus represents, how it is different from the flu, has been successful in educating some Americans, but not others. And I would remind people again that it is one thing to say, I am willing to take a risk with my life. But this is not like, this isn't cliff diving. Like, cliff diving doesn't catch, okay? You can't spread it to other people. This virus, you very much can. And you might be fine if you get exposed to it, but you could very easily expose other people who are not going to make it.
I have to be honest. I'm actually uneasy and afraid right now. So I just want to I know I'm putting myself in a super vulnerable position by even admitting that, but we're in a dire situation where the entire country is not on the same page. People don't agree on what we need to do to combat this virus. A lot of people have already died, and that's with the social distancing in place. If these red states continue to loosen restrictions, if right-wingers, talking about private citizens, refuse to even follow the social distancing guidelines, more and more people are going to die, and any positive development that we've seen is going to be undone. And I worry about that, because we have Donald Trump as the president. He changes his opinion from one day to the next. He was threatening to reopen the economy. And then he had a meeting with business leaders yesterday for an hour, and he changed his mind. And he said that we wouldn't reopen the economy until we had widespread testing available. And then today it seems like he's wavering on his last opinion on, this whole situation. So we lack leadership in the executive branch. There's no question about that. We lack leadership when it comes to Congress's actions in providing the financial relief that actually meets the crisis that we're in right now. And we have endless misinformation campaigns on conservative news sites, conservative cable news outlets, and on social media.
Yeah.
So I don't see anyone really tackling these issues in a substantive way, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, and in terms of the misinformation, we're going to have more on that in just a bit. I want to go through a couple more of these quotes. Ashley Smith goes on to say, we are not promised a pathogen-free existence. We do not have a constitutional right to not get a virus. Yeah, I guess it's not specifically laid out, but there seems to be some concern about the health and welfare of American citizens in various parts of the Constitution. Let's see. We've got Brenda Essman. So that's one of the protesters that was interviewed. We're tired of not being able to buy the things we need, go to the hairdressers, get our hair done. Well, yeah, if a few people have to die, so you can get your hair done. That may have to happen. There was one interesting interaction, I thought, though. So there's a reporter for Wood TV8, Leon Hendricks, who went up to a protester and asked him, "Are you concerned about this virus?" And the protester, Joseph Dixon, responds, "I was in the beginning until I've done my research and found out the realities and the media's overreach on it, and that it's not as serious as they made it out to be. And that's why I'm here, because I feel that they are overreaching, overreacting, and crushing our small businesses, crushing our economy." Then the reporter had a follow-up question. I see you're wearing a mask, so you must have some level of concern. And he was, by the way, not just wearing a mask, he was wearing a full balaclava, which might have been to intimidate people. And he says, look, well, I still have common sense. Okay, well, demonstrate it, because you are willing to put on the mask to protect yourself in the short term, since none of the people at these protests were social distancing. They were packed in there. But you're not necessarily concerned about other people being exposed if these measures are taken away preemptively. And, and there's other people talking about, like, that the huge... So one, a rally organizer... Roseanne Punkowski. So she heads up Michigan Conservative Coalition, a pro-Trump group. She said they were predicting huge numbers of people falling ill and dying, and that wasn't the case. Well, look, I'm looking at New York just added some extra deaths to 2 days ago. So they had been previously unreported, but now they've been confirmed. So now the death count for April 14th is listed as 6,185. Yesterday was nearly 2,800. Maybe that's not a lot for some people. I don't know what horror movies they watch every day, but that seems pretty bad to me. I mean, one day, 2 9/11s, that seems pretty bad.
We have these high numbers given the fact that we're 4.5 months into the year and we have been practicing social distancing. So imagine if we hadn't been doing that, how high the numbers would be. Right. So a lot of people feel this need to compare the number of deaths to what the country experiences in any given year with deaths caused by the common flu. Mm-hmm. But this virus is not the common flu. And I feel like a broken record because I've been making this argument over and over again. For instance, you can be completely asymptomatic and you can spread this virus like wildfire. It's highly contagious. You do not need to show symptoms in order to spread it. And it attacks your respiratory system aggressively. So if you have underlying health conditions, respiratory conditions, if you have diabetes, if you have any issues with your organs like chronic kidney failure, that kind of stuff, you are very likely to suffer the dire consequences of this virus. And remember, we have this for-profit healthcare model, which means that our hospitals do not have enough beds in order to take care of all of these sick patients, right? So remember, like, people keep talking about these ventilators and the national stockpile. Why do you think the national stockpile needed to have these ventilators, respirators, and all the medical supplies that we need? Because hospitals do not find it profitable to buy this equipment and just store it in their hospitals when most of the time it's not being used. When you have a for-profit healthcare system, it's just not in the best position to take care of a giant number of people or a giant influx of people who become sick in the middle of a pandemic. So the reason why we're social distancing is not only to save lives, that's the number one underlying issue here, but it's also to ensure that our healthcare system and our hospitals are not overwhelmed and overburdened with the number of patients who end up contracting this virus. There are a number of deaths now rising that aren't directly caused by COVID-19. It's indirectly caused by COVID-19. So if you're a cancer patient, for instance, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to get the type of medical attention that you would usually get when we're not dealing with a pandemic. So people are dying in their homes right now because of COVID-19, but also because they have other health issues that aren't being taken care of because the hospitals are overwhelmed. These people are not only playing with their own lives, they're playing with the lives of other people who are trying to do things responsibly. And it's just like, it's devastating to see it.
Yeah, 100%. And to see these people rallying, and by the way, the rallies are basically Trump rallies. People have the MAGA hats. Let me show you this one photo. There's bring guns. Guns have absolutely nothing to do with it, but they're packing, assault rifles. That's necessary. And they trust Trump. I mean, like the reporting from a couple days ago where he kept asking and kept having to get corrected when he said, why can't we just let it wash over America?
Yeah.
And let all these people die with no defense whatsoever. Like, have you seen like prominent former Trump supporters, maybe in the media or something, saying, wait a second, that seems like a bit of a red line to cross, consigning hundreds of thousands or millions to die with no protection whatsoever because you think it's easier? But that's gone. That story's gone. I'm literally the only person that's going to mention it today, and tomorrow, not even me. We're all going to move past his theory that we should just let millions die. Anyway, he's not the only person saying horrendous things. Why don't we move to a video that's been going around this morning? Dr. Oz has a theory of one way we could start to resume normal operations in America, but it does have a bit of a cost, but it's a cost he's willing to bear.
Well, first, we need our mojo back. Let's start with things that are really critical to the nation where we think we might be able to open without getting into a lot of trouble. I tell you, schools are a very appetizing opportunity. I just saw a nice piece in the Lancet arguing that the opening of schools may only cost us 2 to 3% in terms of total mortality. And, that's any life is a life lost. But to get every child back into a school where they're safely being educated, being fed, and making the most out of their lives with a theoretical risk in the backside, it might be a trade-off some folks would consider. We need to get industry back, supply lines. I mean, things that we can do without putting the nation at risk.
That is
madness.
That is an incredible statement. He referred to opening up schools in the middle of a pandemic extremely appetizing.
An appetizing option.
And made it seem like losing 2 to 3% of the children in this country is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, or them getting the virus and then bringing it home and transmitting it to the rest of their family. Like 2 to 3%. It was a very nice piece he read in the Lancet. Very nice. No, I've read like nice poems. I haven't read a nice evaluation of like there's since he put that out. There have been some speculation about exactly what he's referring to there. Best case scenario, the most charitable interpretation of what he's talking about there is thousands and thousands of deaths. And it's like, it's kind of appetizing. I get appetized. I start to salivate when I think about those mass graves being dug. And Dr. Oz, the reason he's saying this is because this sort of rhetoric has gotten him on Fox News on a regular basis recently. And so this is the formula in modern media. If you want to make it in right-wing media, you have to be a monster, an enthusiastic monster, and you will be rewarded mightily. His next book, Trump will tweet about it, and he'll make a bunch of money. And why? Because he said to benefit, the S&P, we should let some kids die.
Man, I don't even know what to say.
He's a doctor, Anna.
Yeah,
He's a
I know.
Doctor. Yeah, and with a sterling reputation too, by the way.
It's just so irresponsible, and
yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, and by the way, like, we have a pretty significant international audience, and I appreciate and I'm happy that people live in better countries than we do. But it is hard to see the emails and the messages from people who have like a robust social safety net, who have actual leadership, and
yeah,
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to deal with this every day.
Yeah, and to see people like that considered serious. He can get on any show he wants because he's a serious person. He's got doctor before his name, and again, he is going to be one of those people. Like, there was another senator, I think it was Kennedy, that'll say, you know what, if we have to make sacrifices, and they are always, always, always talking about sacrifices that they don't have to make. They say we. They don't mean we. They mean you. He's not going to be bagging groceries at Pavilion. He's not going to be exposed. He's not going to be working the subways in New York City. He's going to be remote Skyping in to Sean Hannity's show. And all those Fox hosts, by the way, who are now like universally supporting these protests, you'll notice that they're shooting from home. Like, they could go into the media figures. We could go in. We could go to the TYT studio right now. It's an essential thing. You could do it in New York. They're choosing not to. Okay, so they're very supportive of forcing people to go back to work, but they're choosing not to. Why? Because they know how dangerous it is. They just won't extend the concern they have for their own lives to everyone else. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And just keep in mind that states like Texas have basically banned abortions in the middle of this pandemic. So they can go ahead and pretend like they're these pro-life warriors. But at the same time, you hear the type of commentary that we just heard from, I was about to call him Dr. Phil.
Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz, yeah.
They both have issues.
The kind of commentary we hear from Dr. Oz. I mean, just how incredibly like flippant they are about children getting sick, possibly passing this virus on to their parents and their families. And It's just, it's amazing. They've never actually cared about unborn like fetuses. Like they've never actually cared about that. It's always been a political move to earn brownie points. And it's always been, meant to punish women who happen to get pregnant when they don't want to get pregnant.
Yeah.
That's all it's always been. Because look, this pandemic has really revealed so much about the country we live in, how many of these politicians and pundits are really nothing more than frauds. We now know without a shadow of a doubt what these motivations really are. And the real question is, what are we going to do about it? Because I'm tired of it. I really am. And we have a broken system and a broken corporate media that really needs to change.
I agree. Okay, well, why don't we lighten things up for a minute? We're going to read some super chats. I also realized that your image is cropped in, so I'm going to give you the space you deserve, Anna.
Thank you.
I'm going to move this out a little bit. Maybe a bit, because there's an error message. Because I realized you don't have any headroom, even though you perfectly framed yourself in your image. I'm the one who took that headroom away from you. Okay, so you all have been incredibly supportive. The nearly 5,000 of you in the chat right now have been sending in a ton of super chats, so I want to read through some of those, because we could not appreciate more the support that you've been offering to the network since we went on lockdown. Not only in donations, which you can do to the network, super chats, but also just watching more of our videos. And I understand you're a captive audience, but I appreciate it nonetheless. I think like TDR, it's up like 30% over the past couple of weeks.
Wow.
So really do appreciate everyone being so supportive. Carson Rodke says, already the best damage report. Hi, Anna and John.
Hey.
Thank you, Carson. Thank you. Hoot USMC Brown has a keep it up weightlifting emoji for us. Thank you. Terraform says, do super chats get the match donation from Joe in California, and how long is the matching offer good for? I don't believe so, and I'm not sure about the offer. Anna, maybe you know how long that lasts?
Yes. So Joe from Los Angeles offered to donate, I believe, $50,000 in matching donation. So up to $50,000. Every dollar that you guys donate to the network at tyt.com/go will be matched by Joe, which is incredible.
Is this the Joe I think it is?
I don't know.
So let's not say just in case.
Yeah, we don't know for sure.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Per says recipients of Darwin's Award, I think in reference to the protesters, and says hi from Sweden. Thank you. Oddly enough that you're mentioning Sweden, I just watched Midsummer last night. Didn't like it.
Oh, you didn't like it? I was going to ask if you did.
Not a fan. No, I thought she was great. I think that Florence Pugh is like now one of my favorite actresses, actually. But no, I didn't think it was. I kind of like, I don't want to mention it to Mary because I know it's like her favorite movie. But no, you liked it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay. No. Rum did it. Thank you for your super chat. Rob Shively says, John, why do you hate Scrubs? Anna, Jeebus, your camera setup makes your eyes look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It's nice and sharp. It's very high quality video. And I don't hate Scrubs. I just haven't watched Scrubs. Diamond Dog says, once in a while, give a shout out to TYT Investigates and their daily live feed. The work they do needs more promotion on the bigger TYT shows. Thanks. Yes, 100%. One thing we do try to do is we have the TYT Investigates individuals on the show. So obviously we used to have Ken on all the time. We've had Jonathan. I just did my first interview with Tiwa, which is going to be part of our Earth Day special coming up very soon. Lil Yumper says, guessing Dr. Oz was using 2 to 3% of his brain when he thought that idea was good. That's being generous, I think. Let's see. James says, as a teacher, please don't force me to go back to the classroom. As much as I miss it, I prefer to stay safe in my home. Yeah, I think that the insult to injury that we could offer is underpaying public school teachers for their entire career and then forcing them to be surrounded by a bunch of kids with coronavirus.
It's crazy.
Floyd says, it's my birthday and I'm stuck home doing nothing. Oh, well, I get to actually be able to watch TYT for a change. Floyd, happy birthday. Everyone in the chat, you now have no reason to wish me a happy birthday today. It should go to Floyd. And there are a lot more super chats. We'll get to those in a little bit, but we definitely want to move on to our next story. Oh, I also want to mention one thing. We're not going to do like a full story about it, but just because we've been talking about Chris Cuomo recently, because of his commentary about media, his wife has been diagnosed with coronavirus.
Yeah.
Devastating. And I know that he had said that that was like his biggest fear when he got it, was that he would spread it to his family. We don't know for sure that he did, but that seems likely and so unfortunate. And so hopefully they will both be fine. Okay, with that, why don't we jump into the next story? For weeks now, we have been incredibly critical about the coronavirus misinformation that some in the media have been so willingly spreading. Chief among those are the personalities at Fox News, who from the very beginning, when they weren't downplaying coronavirus, they were spreading misinformation about it, and that has continued. And so you might remember a couple of weeks ago, Diamond and Silk said that the coronavirus death numbers are just made up. And I said at the time, this is going to be what they're all saying soon. Took about 4 days, and now they all say that those numbers are made up. And what do you know? Polls now show that the vast majority of Fox News viewers think that those numbers are fabricated. Here's a little chart. You're probably, if you're on mobile, good luck reading it, but I will sum it up for you. The people on the left are those who watch Fox News frequently. The orangish red bar are those who believe that fewer have died than the official count. And that is not only the plurality, that's about, it's above 40%, I believe. And you can see that if you get over to people who don't watch Fox News, almost nobody believes that. And most believe that more have died than the official count. That's also very similar to all respondents when you talk to them. It's also the truth, because we know that some people are not being diagnosed, they're not being treated, they're dying at home and thus not being counted. And I have no idea what the difference between the official numbers and the actual numbers are, and I feel perfectly comfortable talking about the official numbers. They are high enough that everyone should be outraged by them. But the idea that so many will have been so misinformed about those numbers, and thus end up being, very easy on Donald Trump about his response. If they don't believe that these numbers are true, then why should they be bothered by the fact that 30,000 Americans have died, Anna?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, look, conspiracy theories might have a little credibility to them if it's a situation in which the rich and powerful benefit and the poor suffer, right? And right now, the reason why we're hearing from so many business owners and CEOs and people in positions of power urging us to get back to work is because this virus is hurting them financially, right? So yes, a lot of these corporations will end up getting bailed out. But those bailouts are only going to help stock portfolios so much. Eventually, the bailouts aren't going to do enough, and they're going to want people to go back to work, which is why they're spreading this misinformation and urging people to go back to work. Look, I'm saying all this because conspiracy theories don't make sense when people in positions of power are facing some financial hits, right? This is real, guys. This is real. There isn't a global conspiracy. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. You have a smart audience. We have a smart audience at TYT Network. This is the kind of message that needs to get through to the people who are most vulnerable to misinformation. And unfortunately, I don't know if it ever will.
Yeah.
And that's why, look, our media has, in a lot of ways, divided the country. And so people get to pick and choose what kind of messages they like. It's like this a la carte situation. And really, this propaganda is negatively impacting 40% of the country. These are the Trump supporters who are not only going to end up risking their own lives and their family lives, they're going to risk all of our lives.
Yeah.
And I think, look, I don't know if this is a crazy proposal, but it is something that some of the states need to start considering. If states like California, Oregon, Washington have been doing their due diligence, they've been taking this seriously. I think, Gavin Newsom is not my favorite politician, but he's done an excellent job in the state of California in coping with and dealing with this pandemic. If we're doing everything that we need to do to flatten that curve and other states aren't, should we have travel bans based on which state you live in? I don't know. There needs to be a solution because we're not all on the same page. And it's not fair to the people living in California or any other state where people are taking this seriously to suffer the consequences of people living in red states who aren't taking it seriously.
Yeah, that we would all suffer based on which state is most irresponsible. Ron DeSantis opens everything up, Florida starts flooding out and infects the rest of the country. That's a very real concern. I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah.
And I want to be clear. I just floated something, right? I don't know if that's really a solution. It's not even something that I'm aggressively pushing for. But we do need to think of a plan B, because I don't see this as something that's going to be, you know, talked through rationally with the same people who are watching Fox News, listening to the bad, the dishonest actors, and, going out there and risking other people's lives. They're just not reasonable, and they're not listening to the data and the facts. So we need to think about a plan B.
Yeah, and I would say, if you are a Trump fan, if you're a conservative and you believe that we're not being fair, that it is, these numbers are being made up, they're being artificially inflated, they're being used by the media to hurt Donald Trump. Well, like, just a couple days ago, remember he had that bat-esque crazy press conference with his propaganda video and his images saying the media downplayed it for months. Well, which is it? Are they downplaying it to hurt him, or are they escalating it and being hyperbolic about it to hurt him? Like, are they doing both simultaneously? Whatever's most convenient, whatever helps Trump in the moment. I can't even follow what the conspiracy theory is. And of course, it just changes based on what he said. And one of the reasons, one thing I want to mention here is, it was to some extent one thing when it was Diamond and Silk or Laura Ingraham or whoever who were saying this number is made up. I don't remember who the guest was, but I had someone on a week or two ago, and we were talking about this. My theory that eventually that would be what they fall back on. When the death count gets high enough, they're going to have to pretend that the death count is made up. And one of the issues with that theory before was, but Trump is saying that the number is true. What are they going to do? Like, he can't change on that. And I said at the time, he can change on that anytime he wants. It won't matter. And indeed, yesterday during his briefing, he said, I see this morning where New York added 3,000 deaths because they died. Rather than a heart attack, they say heart attack caused by this. So yeah, he just pivoted. And what is, like, Laura Ingraham would be like, hey, wait a second, that's not what you were saying last week. No, the number could get to 100,000 and they will say no one has died with a straight face. God.
This is, I mean, just when you thought the Trump presidency couldn't get worse, we get hit with a pandemic. I mean, and this is like the thing I can't get over. What were the chances? Like, what were the chances that there would be a global pandemic when he's in charge? It's
higher than otherwise. But yeah, I had looked 2 years ago. I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't think, a crazy version of SARS or whatever is going to rampage through. Apparently some responsible people, including like Obama had requested all this money in 2014. Dr. Fauci back in 2017 was saying this is going to happen. So some people were. I can't claim credit for that. Yeah.
Well, we didn't have that information.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Like, we had no idea.
And I'm an idiot.
Anyway.
So for those two reasons, I was never going to predict it. But anyway, okay, so why don't we turn to something slightly different? Okay. When it comes to the government's response to coronavirus, the money they've dished out to help get us all through it, the little bit that has gone to us comes in the form of a $1,200 check, which to me didn't seem like much, but maybe I just don't have the right perspective. Here is an economic expert, Steve Mnuchin, on how long it should last.
These checks in the mail or direct deposit, it's really bridge liquidity for people as they go through these difficult times.
Bridge liquidity for about 8 weeks?
Well, I think the entire package provides economic relief overall for about 10 weeks.
Okay, so, thank you. I need bridge liquidity. I just need to get through for 10 weeks. And him sort of implying, and I understand we're going to finesse it in a bit, but implying that, like, no, you're good for literally months. It was strong, like, disconnected oligarch vibes, and perfectly summed up by AOC, who tweeted, "It's your monthly rent, Michael. What could it cost? $10? Which is a great Arrested Development reference there by the representative. And look, he's not just saying the $1,200. He's talking about the unemployment as well, I suppose. Okay, this is the level of concern they have for us. People who they've lost their health insurance, they're worried about paying their rent, all of that. When it comes to business interests, he is in charge of a multi-trillion-dollar fund that he can just make it rain for whoever he wants, whenever he wants. He can invest in the stock market based on the decisions he's going to make in terms of doling out that money, knowing that it'll have an effect on the share price of those stocks. It's like, yeah, you got your bridge liquidity. Now go away. The adults are in the room. We're talking about the serious concerns.
So I have so much to say about this. First off, not only is $1,200 a joke, and look, I don't want to minimize how much of an impact $1,200 can have for some people, right? But when you think about how much rent costs, how much food costs, how much healthcare costs, especially now that all these people have been laid off and they lost their health insurance as a result of that, $1,200 ain't going to cut it, especially if it's a one-time payment. Unemployment insurance under the stimulus package is actually robust. It's actually pretty good because you get an additional $600 from the federal government per week for up to 12 weeks. So about 4 months. And so, or is that 3 months? That's 3 months. Sorry. Yeah. So for 3 months. And so that's great. The unemployment insurance is great, except people are unable to apply for it because there isn't an infrastructure in place to deal with this massive number of people attempting to file for unemployment. 22 million Americans have already filed for unemployment. So look, really the stimulus check is what so many people are relying on right now. And David Dayen from the American Prospect reported this week that because of the inaction of the Treasury Department under Steve Mnuchin's watch, banks can confiscate that money straight from your account. It can be garnished straight from your account as soon as it hits that account. Yep. Believe it or not.
Yeah, and it could have been protected, but they chose not to.
Exactly. They chose not to protect it. Steve Mnuchin and the Treasury Department decided to give, honestly, another little goodie to the big banks and to creditors rather than protect average Americans who need that help. And by the way, we are going to cover one other story today about how the corporations that are going to receive trillions of dollars in bailouts are allowed to pay their investors dividends. So if you happen to be an investor, which you probably are not, because the vast majority of those investors are in the top 1%, even though there's no economic activity right now, people aren't working, people have been laid off, consumers aren't able to spend, retail is down 8%. The very companies that needed that bailout are then going to turn around and pay dividends to their investors. That's why what we're seeing in the stock market right now is a complete and utter disconnect from what the real economy looks like. All these people have been laid off, but the stock market has actually been doing pretty well. It's amazing.
Yeah, the stock market goes up every Thursday when the new unemployment numbers come out, which tells you everything you need to know. And we're going to get to those numbers in one sec. What could we have done hypothetically instead of the $1,200 and then they never talk about regular people again? Keith Boykin tweeted out what different countries are doing. Australia, close to $2,000 a month. Canada, almost $1,500 a month. Denmark, $3,300 a month. France, up to $7,600 a month. And you see, and that can go on, hypothetically, for a long time. Us, you better, maybe mac and cheese, maybe Pop-Tarts, invest in something that is high calorie for the dollar if you want to make it last that long. And I'm glad that you brought up the unemployment. The new numbers, let's see, 5.2 million more, roughly 22 million so far in the past month. And that's the people who have been able to actually get through. And I know people who struggled day after day after day after day to finally make it through the system, which was not set up for, it's not like the unemployment system was doing well before this crisis and was a smooth thing to move through. It wasn't. And they didn't care because, again, it's something that serves those who are poorest, those who are most needy. That's not the priority of people like Steve Mnuchin.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, a few more super chats, and then we have one more story to get to. Mark Davis says, reopening schools would kill more than 2 to 3% of kids. Has anyone noticed the absence of shootings? Well, you got to make up those numbers somehow. Chub Toad says, Dr. Oz is just positioning himself for Fauci's job once Trump fires him.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
I can. That's why I'm terrified.
Miss Kaylee, thank you for your "you are amazing" emoji. And Ed says 3% of 74.2 million is 2.226 million, maybe dead, plus a thorough spreading of disease based on stated numbers. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it'll work out to, but he knew it's a lot.
Appetizing. That's what he referred to it.
A nice piece. Brian says, what often goes overlooked is that 1 to 3% mortality rate is if the healthcare system is not over capacity. That's a great point. Brent says, these dialogue examples are notes from serial killers, and they should be prosecuted for conspiracy to commit murder, or at least advocating for it. Let's see. Beetle Greg says, I'm loving your beard very strongly, like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, I'm hearing things. People, it's a beard like no one could have imagined. We're learning lots of new things. I always knew it was a beard, but most people didn't. The media, fake news, fake beard news. West says, thanks for sharing your voice on the damage report, Anna.
Thank you. I'm really happy that I can do this today.
And someone had said, is this Anna's first time on the damage report? No, but it is far too rare. And Matthew says, Anna is minimum as gangster and beautiful as John. I don't know exactly what you mean, but thank you. Is that a song lyric? You know that I've banned song lyrics in Super Chats, people. Pixelated Bunny says, TDR still not appearing in the live list on TYT. Thank you for your concern. It's not going to in the near term because of the way that we're streaming. So that's not like an oversight on their part. It is a technological limitation based on what I'm doing. So that is not on them. Everything else is on them. On corporate, not on, but this is on me. Amanda says, best TDR ever. Hi, Anna. Greetings from Canada. Thank you. And Kimberly Wu has an awesome fox emoji. By the way, we are just about at the highest viewership simultaneously we've ever had. Anna Kasparian, breaking records.
Your viewership is strong.
So
You've never seen viewership like this before. No one could have expected that Anna Kasparian would bring this kind of viewership.
I think it's
I'm kidding. I'm sure it's not me.
No, I think that's what it is. I think it's a delayed reaction from Bernie Sanders' call to go to the YouTube. People are finally taking time out on quarantine to go to the YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, there are other super chats. I will get to them eventually, but I don't want to keep Anna on for forever, and I want to make sure that we get to this next story, so we are going to transition to that now. Okay. Representative AOC is going to be facing a primary challenger. Yes, someone has decided to jump into the volcano as the human sacrifice on the part of Wall Street to go up against AOC and get what I'm going to predict is absolutely shredded. This election. But we do have someone, Anna, and The Intercept has done a great job of putting together some of the information that we now have of who is backing this individual, Michelle Caruso Cabrera. And so really fast, we're going to give our commentary, but disclosures show that at least 24 finance industry professionals, including several prominent private equity executives and investment bankers, made early donations to Caruso Cabrera, a former CNBC contributor. Little bit of information you should know about her. She was a registered Republican until a few years ago, authored a 2010 book advocating for conservative positions, including ending Medicare and Social Security, which she called pyramid schemes. And she has announced last week that she's collected nearly $1 million in fundraising over the first quarter, including backing from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which obviously backs a lot of progressive congressional candidates. Oh, sorry, I mean right-wing Republican congressional candidates who are there to deregulate Wall Street and stuff like that. Are you worried for AOC? Should she be worried, Anna?
You know, look, I'm not worried right now. She is popular in her district. Her voters seem to really love her. And I think these types of stories that really reveal who's funding Caruso and what her political ideology really is only going to help AOC. But the thing that does make me worry is, you know, even I do it. We underestimate how much power there is on the wrong side. And for all the negative feedback we heard from establishment Democrats in regard to progressive candidates who wanted to challenge, moderate Democratic incumbents, I'm worried that we haven't heard much from Democratic leadership about this challenger to AOC. You know, it's interesting to see that. But I would like to see Mama Bear Pelosi, stand up for Representative Ocasio-Cortez.
We'll see. I don't know about that. We do have one So the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, says that it is prepared to help out both Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as well as Rashida Tlaib in their re-election should they request help. So look,
Good.
keep an eye on that, because we'll see how much help. Will it actually come? What conditions will there be? But at least they want you to believe they're being consistent in defending incumbents at the very least.
By the way, did conservatives like go out of their way to find a Latina to go up against AOC? Like, or was that just a coincidence? I'm wondering.
I'm gonna guess yes. When I saw the name, I was like, well, yeah, of course. I will say, look, on name alone, Michelle Caruso Cabrera, that is a cool name. And I think you're not going far enough, Anna, because you're right that they went to find a Latina. But I think that they also wanted someone with a hyphenated name.
Yes, I was going to say that too. It's like incredible. A young, attractive Latina woman with a hyphenated name.
Well, I haven't seen a picture. I don't know if she's attractive, but yes, probably.
She is. I mean, look, she's a CNBC host. Like, they don't, when it comes to women specifically, they don't allow unattractive women on TV. Like, let's just keep it real.
That's true.
Yeah. No, but I did want to just quickly mention, it does give you some insight into how conservatives think about voters or what appeals to voters. Like, they think that the district that elected AOC is just full of a bunch of dummies who don't know anything about politics. They don't know anything about what impacts their lives directly. They just voted for her because she happens to be a young, attractive Latina woman. So they're like, let's just find a young, attractive Latina woman to put her up against AOC and she'll win, especially with Wall Street support. But, you know,
maybe.
I'm thinking they're in for a rude awakening if they think that's all it takes.
I think so. And I have one piece of evidence on that in 1 second. But on the name thing, if I were to Google or go on Twitter and search for MCC, do you think they're trying to make MCC a thing for her to counter AOC?
I'm going to go with yes. I guarantee you they're trying to make it a thing.
Yeah. Okay, so really fast, a little bit more on her. Her book's name was You Know I'm Right, More Prosperity, Less Government. And you know that when a right-winger writes a book that says, you know I'm right, she's trying to reassure you that she's right-wing, by the way. Anna, do you happen to know who wrote the foreword for her book? Who would you guess?
Sean Hannity.
That's
Sean
great.
Hannity.
No, so that's a great guess. So think more economic right-winger, less media right-winger.
Alan Greenspan.
That is a great guess, but no, it's Larry Kudlow.
Oh!
Of the Trump administration, people.
That's incredible.
It's just amazing. And look, you might say it is unfair of us to judge her based on her party ID and what she advocated in foreign books. That's perhaps fair. So we should judge her based on what position she now has. And I would, but on her website, there's nothing about her policies. So I have no idea what she actually believes. What I do know, though, is AOC has less reason to be worried than some, because the new FEC filing day just happened. The Q1 numbers, AOC literally raised the most for House Dems,
Wow.
$2.7 million. Katie Porter with $2 million raised.
Get it?
Woo!
Love it.
She is
Love
really
it.
something, man. She is on fire. But yeah, AOC. And that's why I made the volcano analogy. Like, you were right. Maybe the media will rally around her, and maybe Pelosi will endorse her. But it seems like a human sacrifice from Wall Street. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, they're desperate. But I love seeing the political activism in districts like AOC's, and we need to spread that like rapid fire.
Yeah. And by the way, why is the Democratic Party, when they see those fundraising numbers, because that's all they care about, right? Okay, well then why not have more AOCs and more Katie Porters? Why not get more of those sorts of people that can raise money organically from the sort of people you want to raise money from in huge numbers? By the way, taking pressure off of the DCCC and other party organizations to have to defend them. They won't have to because she'll be able to defend herself. Shouldn't you want more of that? But of course, no, because the cost is too high.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, I mean, these are the types of candidates. I'm lucky they got through, but they challenge the power structure that the Democratic Party has enjoyed and appreciated. You know, we got to really think about this in terms of power and what really motivates certain incumbents and certain leadership to act the way that it does.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I don't want to keep you over, so that's going to be the last story for us, and I appreciate you, especially on short notice, joining us on the show. I have only one more request, and feel free to decline. I did notice that we shot way past 1,000 likes. Is there any chance we could see Charlie?
Okay,
Is he here?
I have. He's not here. I'm gonna go grab him.
Okay,
because
I'll go to my one
I just
shot.
want to. All right, I just want to show him off. So I'll be right back.
Awesome, thank you. So while she's getting Charlie, you guys have been sending in more super chats. Obi Mom Kenobi, who has the best name ever, says, "I've been feeling so hopeless, but seeing you guys go through the same emotions makes me feel less crazy. It gives me a bit of hope for the future. Thank you." This is about solidarity, and that's why we don't hide how we're feeling, and when we're mad, when we're sad. Stan Z says, "Can someone explain to me how our reps and senators are not essential services?" Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday on the main show. The fact that they haven't set up a system for the continuance of our legislative branch is unacceptable. Like, I mean that literally. Other countries have. There's no reason why we haven't. They get paid a huge amount of money. They need to work. Osborne says, "Now we can compare the best and second best backgrounds. Winner, of course, is John, but I am biased. I love board games." Thank you. No, her background is both awesome and more professional than mine by far. Miguel, thank you for your thank you. And let's see. I believe we have the first ever appearance of Charlie.
Look, buddy.
Charlie,
Look.
it's me. It's Uncle John.
Hey, hi.
How's it going, Charlie?
Hey, you want to go to John's? You want to go to John's?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Charlie.
Charlie is obsessed with John. Like, look, buddy.
Oh.
Look. He's not liking this though.
He's so
like,
long.
What the hell?
Look at his long body. So elegant.
Say hi.
Hey,
I love
Charlie.
you.
What a cutie.
I love you.
Good boy.
He's
Oh
been
my God.
he's been everything throughout all of this.
That
like
is
he's just
what if you didn't have your dog during quarantine?
I don't know, I'd lose my mind. Like, he keeps me sane. He's just like so sweet and so loving, and like he can tell when I'm distressed. He's mostly mini poodle, and poodles are super emotionally intelligent. So even if I'm not like showing signs of distress, he can just tell, and he'll come and like be super affectionate with me, and it immediately gets me in a better mood.
Yeah.
So I'm so lucky to have that dog. And by the way, he's adopted. Please, if you want to get a dog, if you want to have a pet, see if you can adopt, because there's so many dogs out there that need a home, and
Yeah.
he's incredible.
He's so cute. By the way, as soon as you showed him, a bunch of people started commenting about how cute he was. Some of the comments are just, ah! He's so cute. Oh, man.
His
Okay.
nickname is Boobaloo, so
Boobaloo.
Yeah.
Well, everyone who felt like they were robbed of not seeing a dog at 1,000 likes in the last 2 days because they were out on a walk, I think Charlie makes up for it, people. 100%. Anna, thank you so much. It was great to have
thank you
you
so
on.
much for having me. I had a great time, and thank you for all the support, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Hopefully this won't be the last time in lockdown, but I won't ask soon. I know that you're already incredibly overworked, but thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
And I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Okay, everybody. Let's see. So, Yarun says Joseph Mengele was a doctor too. Yeah, doctors are not necessarily always the best people, but I have higher expectations than of any random person. DJ Telebag says, "We can't give up to Trump and the establishment. Keep up the good fight." Thank you. We're trying. And thankfully all of you are as well. Charlie Ellis took me up on the happy birthday for Floyd and sent in a super chat saying happy birthday, Floyd. So that super chat goes out to you, Floyd. TXX Red Tash says, "The work you all do is so important. Thank you. You're helping to keep us sane, and it's much appreciated. Thank you." Jay Payton has a great question. Can you have Nina Turner on here or the main show soon, please? Yes, hopefully. We've had Nina on many times. Always down to talk to her. I imagine she is probably incredibly busy, but we're going to try. We are having David Sirota on. I'm going to be interviewing him tomorrow. It's not going to be live, but it will go up on the channel, so you're going to want to look out for that. It should be uploaded tomorrow. So, some of the people who are closest to Bernie during his campaign, we want to continue to talk to them, and Nina is obviously at the top of that list. William says, "I appreciate you both for being warriors in the fight between good versus idiocy. I was in a debate recently with a MAGA hat, and he claimed that Trump does have total control." Thank you, William. William, I hope that you got that in documentation, and see if that MAGA hat believes the same thing when a Democrat is president. I have a feeling not. Fred says, "Wouldn't a plateau in cases deaths possibly indicate we're testing at maximum capacity?" I'm not the person to ask about that. As far as I know, though, right now we are not testing it anywhere near maximum capacity, but perhaps someday we will get there. DeAndre says, watching on a delay, Anna almost crying over what Dr. Oz said is the only rational human response. Stay strong, everyone. We're in for even darker times. Yes, and it affected me to see her because, you know what? Anna is real. Douglas says, who will Trump blame then? I'm not sure what that was a reference to, but I will guess the WHO, the fake news media, Nancy Pelosi, everyone? One of those. William C. says, seeing Anna tearing up, I felt that. I did as well. Lisa B. says, how do we survive these soulless ghouls? Hopefully fewer of the soulless ghouls are in elected office in November. We'll see. There's a lot of people that could do for a retirement. Ghost Dog says, how much is the bridge liquidity for a millionaire? It's going to be a lot. It's looking like. Optimist says, I live in Kansas and I'm on unemployment due to COVID. The state hasn't implemented the extra $600. Well, that is incredibly unfortunate. Hopefully that will change. Sarah says, Fox News isn't even a news channel. I hope karma come back to Trump and his goons. We'll see. He has avoided karma his entire life. John says, John, it's good to see you brought in Anna for her birthday. Well, it's not her birthday, but always glad to have her on. Sony says, thoughts and prayers, America. I hope you can get rid of this plague soon, and also good luck on the corona situation. Thank you. And thank you to everyone internationally who is looking out for us when each of these countries is dealing with it too. Strayak says, good to see Anna on TDR. The establishment is totally trying to sell Cabrera as another AOC, an evil AOC. I hope that nobody buys that. I don't think anyone will. Dave says, MCC is the Marleybone Cricket Club. How dare they? I was not familiar with that. Benjamin says, JR Wednesdays exists. How about Anna Thursdays? Well, Benjamin, I would love that. Anna is a very hard worker already, and so I try not to overburden her too much, but I will try to have her on in the next few weeks. Katsumi, thank you. Demita says, another way to squeeze small business owners and get our stimulus money. They are about to get my entire stimulus check back. It's time to pay quarterly taxes. Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see if, you know, now that the checks aren't going to be sufficient, the small business loan thing has run out of funds, is there going to be literally anything extra coming up? Zane says, I have 6 adopted dogs, 4 Chihuahuas, 2 Shih Tzus. That's awesome. I have an adopted Chihuahua mix as well. Little Hilo, who I think is here. Hilo, are you here? Hilo, you inside? I think he's feeling shy. I don't think he wants to come on. Floyd, thank you again, and happy birthday. Zane says, super chat, wouldn't let me type Shih Tzu. What? Oh, it's probably, part of the word is probably being weeded out by Nightbot, unfortunately. We are trying to be diligent about the bots. I know a lot of people are really bothered by how the chat effectively became like unusable after like 30 minutes because of the bots. So we're trying to err on the side of making it usable. Come here. Come here. Come here. You want to? Okay, no, he's feeling shy. Silas says they're boasting the 14th district race as Bronx versus Queens. That is an old rivalry. Debater. That's what I want MCC to do. I want her to debate AOC. It will be hilarious. And it should be really easy, by the way, if you're one of these right-wingers. I mean, after all, she's just an actress, right? She's just reading scripted lines. I'm on a debate stage, you know, like send a little zinger at her. She won't be able to respond, right? Doubt it. Okay. And thank you to all the people who sent in hashtag TDR Lives as well. Unprecedented Madness said the Queen of Salt for Anna. And Dominic, also excited to see her. Thank you. It's so great to have Anna on. I really do appreciate her joining us. And everybody, that's all we have. I'm going to be doing a bunch of interviews today and tomorrow. Many of them will be for our Earth Day special, which is going to be coming out next week for members. I am talking with some of the best environmental activists, authors, educators, reporters in the country, and putting it together as a special for members. So go to tyt.com/John to become a member and get access to that. Some of the interviews will not be about Earth Day, though. Like I said, tomorrow I'm talking to David Sirota. That'll be uploaded to the channel. Today, I'm talking to an expert on cults about how Trump's base is going to respond as the death toll goes up, as Trump continues to evade responsibility. Will there be accountability? I'm going to try to find out from a cult expert a little bit later on today. And that's all we have. Tomorrow's Brett. We're going to do a top 10 list, and we're going to do garbage people of the week. You're going to get a chance on the community tab on YouTube to submit who you think should be the garbage person. If you have ideas for top 10 lists, you can, of course, tweet those at me as well. And to the person who asked if Hilo is named after the character from Battlestar Galactica, what do you think? Yes, 100%. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Hope that this brightened your day a little bit. And I will see you tomorrow. Stay safe out there.